In this video, we will look at how to build grids based on a relational database, in this case, SQL Server. Grids provide more flexibility in reporting than the tables we covered in the previous video, but have a processing overhead, and like for like, a table will be faster. As a recap, the tutorial for SQL tables is available in the description below. Report designers can decide case by case whether a grid or a table is most suitable. In this workbook, we already have an existing SQL Server connection. When I add a grid, I will be prompted to choose the connection and will then be presented with the query designer. In this video, we will be using a view that has the required data already. This builds a localized cube environment called a pivotview. We are then presented with a grid designer, where any columns that return numeric information in the query are treated as measures and non-numeric columns are treated as attributes or hierarchies. I can then build the grid as usual. I'll move measures onto the columns into the report and select the sum of sales amount and the sum of order quantity. If we want to report by region, I can move region onto rows and we can put order date, product category, subcategory, and product as filter elements within the report. We now have a simple grid. As with any grid, we can add calculations. So we'll add a column calculation to work out the average selling price. We'll name the column ASP, and beneath that, in the first cell, we'll say it is equal to the sum of the amount divided by the sum of quantity. I can nest hierarchies to further enrich the information. I will move the product categories to the left of the region so I can see the regional sales by category. The grids still support dynamic selections, so I can drive them with Excel ranges or slicers. Users can further enhance the default pivot view structure. Initially, each hierarchy is flat. In other words, there is a summary all level and then all the individual members beneath it. We can build multi-level hierarchies which will enable more flexible summarized reporting and data exploration. To do this, go into the Connections dialog and edit the existing pivot view which was created when we inserted the grid. We can now see all of the fields that are available and the hierarchies that have automatically been created. We currently have distinct hierarchies for product categories, subcategory, and product, where it'd make more sense to have them as levels of the same hierarchy. To change this, simply drag the product category from the available fields and drop it onto the existing product hierarchy. This will add category as the level underneath product, but I can easily drag and drop to rearrange the ordering. I can rename where appropriate and delete the previous category hierarchy, and do the same for subcategory. It is also possible to create levels within the date hierarchy. This requires that the date is stored as a date field in the source database rather than as text. Drag and drop the date field into the hierarchy to add more levels. We can now add a calculation to each level so it returns the relevant date structure. We can now build a grid on this pivot view. It is important to note that changes to the pivot view are changes to the database that the grids and charts use. Therefore, if a hierarchy disappears, any grid using the pivot view will have to be modified if it contained that hierarchy. In the grid designer, we now have one hierarchy for product with 3 levels. In the date hierarchy, we have the 3 levels that we defined earlier. I am now able to navigate through and drill into these levels as usual.